Hi everyone, it's Norman Kochnick here for Eyes on Cricket. I'm starting 15 minutes early, no particular reason, but I thought I just wanted to get stuck into this. There's going to be a England team squad announcement for I'm assuming the last 3 tests, which are of course at Headingley and Leeds, which is more to the north. Then they go down to the Oval. The Oval is actually in virtually central East London. An incredibly great spot. There's a large, like a water tank, if that's a description for it, a masonry tank. I'm not sure what the name of it is, but that adorns one side of the ground, makes it quite picturesque. In fact, it dwarfs the ground. I'm not even sure whether it should be there anymore. So that's there. So it's going to be Headingley at Leeds, followed by, of course, the Oval, which is in London Central. Then it will go back up to Manchester in September as an Old Trafford, which is very close to Manchester United's ground. In fact, virtually is Manchester United's ground. We're going to just pull up some facts here. So it's going to pick up some things here for us. Yeah, so it's got 3 tests to go. This was extremely exciting. India more so in a great position to win this tournament. Let's call it a tournament series. And on top of that, England will lose the series, which will be also a huge down for them, and especially leading into an Ashes later in the year. In fact, this Test series will be their last. They were meant to play against Bangladesh, but they're not. They may have a T20 series somewhere, but they're not going to have any more Test matches. So the last Test, the 5th Test at Manchester, Old Trafford, if weather permits, will be the last match before they head into the IPL and then head into the World Cup, which will take them well into November. And then they'll be heading for Australia not long after that, because in fact Australia will be too, because they're playing Afghanistan, which some of the World Cup players may miss out on. And they'll play Afghanistan at Hobart and then into the Ashes. So yeah, this is one of the last 3 tests that England will have a chance to play. It was quite both disturbing and reassuring. I don't know which one's more the case, with Cricket Australia giving their backing to the under pressure coach Justin Langer, and CEO Nick Hockley put out and praised him in his role and said Langer will stay there since he came to the job in 2018. But in fact, made it clear that he'll be there for the Ashes, obviously the World Cup, the Ashes, and into the middle of next year. That's what's planned. So that is intriguing, because obviously there was a lot of speculation as to what was happening with Justin Langer. But that's clear. It was a lot of speculation floating around about Tim Payne, but he's still there. So I actually don't think that there's a very good relationship. I mean, I'm not trying to overstate this, but Warner Smith and the like and Justin Langer, I'm not exactly sure how good their relationship is. I think Justin Langer has a lot more faith in Tim Payne, doesn't look to be wanting to put Steve Smith in as captain, so that's another thing. All right, so let's just look at these series just to get that clear. Just want to get that clear as the series is concerned. So let's have a look here. It's not the series I wanted to pull up. Hang on. So currently, there's a great photo of Coley and Anderson having a few words, which I think is quite funny. It's a great photo. I'm not sure. There's these websites. They love to throw you to adverts as quickly as they can, don't they? It's quite disturbing. Okay, we're going to go through some of the questions in a minute. We're going to spend some time with let's just make sure that's actually happened. Let's have a look here. Yeah, it has. Good. All right, that's good. Okay, so the reality is that we have a situation where the series itself, the series, the teams, the fixtures, the stats. Let's have a look. I'm just going through the fixtures there for a minute, guys. Give me a second. Okay. All right, so I've named today's discussion a so-called look at the players to watch. I called it players to watch out for. It's going to be more than that, but we'll talk about it because, in fact, the England squad is meant to be announced sometime today. And as it stands now, it's about 2:20 p.m. in the afternoon in England. I would imagine that announcement will be very close to happening. I will get a bulletin and I'll get an email from the ECB very shortly. It may even be some sort of a conference, but they may just announce it without any fanfare. And that will be of interest. Let me have a look here. Yeah, it's been, they actually released a few things yesterday. They released a video, well, it was actually a media conference specifically with Chris Silverwood, the England coach. He talked a lot about many things, but he was obviously very supportive of Joe Root. He didn't think too badly of the team, even though the tactics were wrong on the fifth day. So they were well and truly in all the way along, and things didn't go their way on the fifth day. That's true. They didn't exactly lose the match in the first 4 days. Aspects they were down. They won the toss and batted. They won the toss and sent India in the back, which actually backfired. Then they came back on their innings and they certainly fired with Joe 180 not out. And then the third innings of the match, which was India's second, there was a bit of stumbling going on. There was a bit of an argy-bargy, but you could argue England on top of that day as well. So, yeah. And Silverwood was very clear to talk about Ben Stokes and to say very, very, very clearly that Ben Stokes, it's up to him when he comes back. There'll be no pressure on him, no pushing him, no urging him to come back. He'll come back when he's ready, which to me only means one thing, and that is that he won't be playing for this Test series, of course. And the World Cup looks very unlikely, as well as the IPL. The only possibility is the Test series at the Ashes, that is, and that's even very much in doubt, as it is with Jofra Archer. Chris Wokes, I thought he was due back next Test. We'll see when the squad's announced today, but it looks to me as if there's not much chance of him playing for the rest of the series as well. Obviously, Broad's out. If Wokes is out, Anderson's in doubt as well. And then probably the most other alarming one is Mark Wood's shoulder will be highly likely to be back for the next Test, and maybe not needed for the next Test, considering the conditions are more likely to play in the last two. So this is what we're hearing. So do you think James Vince should be brought back into the red ball setup? Well, he certainly is worthy of contention, yes. I would argue Dawood Malan is slightly ahead of him. And obviously Ollie Pope is there as well. Hamid will get another go, and you'll probably see Hamid back, and then it may be Sibley that may drop out. And if that is the case, Dawood Malan probably would be the first choice, but James Vince is also another choice. Why not give your country stars like Hildreth, Tom Caller, Cudmore, Adam Lythen more chance than English? Well, they're not my county or my country. They may have Adam Lythen. He seems to be in and out of the setup, but I'm not sure that he's there at the moment. So, yeah, does Dan Christian make it into the Aussie T20 World Cup side? I think almost definitely will have to be, because who else are you going to put in? Justin Langer is no more fit to coach Australia. Well, that's what a lot of people are thinking and saying. But Nick Hockley supported him as the CEO, and Tim Payne supports him as well. I don't know whether he's got complete satisfaction there, but the Ashes is going to be a bit of a frustration. A lot of out-of-form players, a lot of dissension, a lot of uncertainty. So it's not going to be the most highest points of the series, that's for sure. Yeah, I've already mentioned that. Root is number 2 in the ICC Test rankings. Does deserve to be number 1 now? Well, who's number 1 again? Is it Williamson? Or Babarazan? These guys are all deserving. What is your India 11 for the next Test? I think I made it pretty clear yesterday that at this point in time, India won't be changing a damn player. Only Shardul Thakur may be considered. Ashwin doesn't look like he'll be considered. And the Indian batting lineup won't change at all, especially after that win. I can't imagine them changing. So why would you if you want a winning side? Both Pujara and Rahane have done well enough. The bowling attack's been fantastic. It's only a matter whether someone may be a bit injured or not 100%. They may consider putting Shardul Thakur back in if he's fit. And they've also got Umesh Yadav there as well. Ashwin probably won't. Not this match. He'll be well and truly there for the Oval, and depending on how things go for Manchester, but he'll be definitely in there for the Oval. It's the 4th Test. And it's not based on him not being a good enough player. He's an excellent player. We all know that. Will Steve Smith play IPL phase 2? Very likely he will be, but he won't be playing the World Cup, which is a scratch your head scenario, and then be rested and ready for the Test series. And he was pledging to be captain. Well, you're not going to be captain if you're going to do what you've done back in Sandpaper Gate. You should never get the captaincy again. Warner will never become a captain, nor should Smith. But anyway, that's my opinion. Let's have a look. Siraj is inspiring me to grow a beard. Siraj is inspiring me. Am I inspiring you to? Okay, there was no doubt Virat haters who were telling him to remove his captaincy. He is the fourth successful captain. What do you think about that? I'm Pujab, JD. I've mentioned a lot. Fourth successful. We've got Graham Smith, Steve Waugh, and Williamson, and he's right up there. So yes, never said anything other than that. I totally agree. No point in giving Sibley another chance to open. I agree. Will Australian players over phase 2 if they are? It's money. They'll be there. If they can crawl there, they'll go there. I don't want to talk about that. What will the conditions be in Headingley? Well, it's going to be the weather we can never predict. The weather's always going to have rain and overcast conditions, and it's very much north. It Leeds, as is Manchester. Rain is always in the picture, and therefore overcast conditions, ball swinging, good for suitable for fast bowlers, hence the play. England has a big batting problem. This year, Joe Root has scored 12 and 80 runs. Next highest is Erin Burns with 367. That's a very good point, Barama. Are you coming on today? I thought you were coming on today. Jace, Yala. Well, shadow close. Yeah, we're already talked about that. Oh. Are you kidding me? Well, no more. Why? Do you think there has been more pitches in this series where spin will be supported? Oval's the one they're saying. The Oval, which is actually in England and London, and that is the 4th test, and that starts from the 2nd of September to the 6th of September. Sounds like a long time away, doesn't it? Well, no, it's not, because it's August 18th already. And effectively, it's a week today that the test will start. So by now, the test would have started in 1 week's time, which is going to go really fast. And then from the 25th to 29th, it's only a matter of a handful of days before the 4th test starts. And then literally 3 or 4 days till the Manchester test starts. So really one after the other. And by September 14th, the test will be over. We'll be almost immediately into the IPL. And then on top of that, almost immediately into the World Cup. Amazing. But won't they want to try out Mayank Agarwal since it's an early test match? I don't think, no, not for the 3rd test, no. Rahul's jumped over the top of him, hasn't he? Why is a lot of hate against Virat? I don't know. Tall poppy syndrome, maybe? I don't know. I don't really know. Sai Krishna Achanta. I don't know. What do you think the plans are going to be for Joe Root for the main series? Keeping in mind that Joe Root, like that on ball early in the innings, and his purple patch continue. I think it will. Why wouldn't he's no reason. Why not Pope at 3 and open with Hamid? Well, Hamid's probably going to open, and Sibley will probably be dropped. But Pope's really not a number. Well, apparently he does play 3 in county. I've heard that, but he won't come into that position cold like that, I don't think. Nick Anthony Buskaram. I don't know you. I've never met you before, Nick, so welcome. I hope you've subscribed. Anyone that's on the channel, please subscribe. That's imperative. If you're watching, subscribe. I don't think it's foregone conclusion that India will win this series. Both tests have been really close, and England should have won the 2nd test, but they lost their heads. Yeah, okay, possibly, but India should also won the 1st. Momentum is a huge thing. Once you break the shackles and you have a win like that, it tends to push you forward. So I can see a point there. What is the difference between Gabba and Lord's test? I think there was no difference. Well, Gabba was more sensational. Had 9 players out from the Indian lineup. They had a lot of debutants. Huge difference. This time around, they had a settled side, didn't you? Yeah, so it's also monumental to win at Lords. Of course it was. And even from the position of being behind, the more experienced heads were involved. It was still a great series, great win, but it's not the series ending. That match won the series. The 4th test of the Gabba has to be the most iconic match of all. Can Munch and Redfern talk about the conditions in Leeds? They will, Ray and PMB 9. And both Reg and Munchie have spoken to me yesterday about that, the day before that about these. The conditions will be that way. So we'll wait and see whether they come on. They're working. It might come on later, but yeah, the reality is it's those conditions in Leeds will be bowler friendly. North of England, it'll be not unlike Trent Bridge. Swinging balls, overhead conditions, suiting the bowlers, not taking spin. Why Smith, Warner, Maxwell, Cummins didn't play against Western? Because they were more concerned about the IPL and their availability for the IPL, and they were stuck in Bangladesh, the West Indies, with COVID conditions and what have you, and having to quarantine here and there. They may not be ready for that. That's why. Yeah, it is shocking stats. It is a group of death. That is a group of death for sure. Yep. People are saying it'll be West Indies in Australia. No way, it'll be West Indies in England. And South Africa and Australia will make up the numbers. Another Stokes from India, thank you. Why do they give a 9-day gap from the third test? Good reason, but I guess they have to split up occasionally. India satisfied like winning a mini World Cup after that win. Yeah, it was a bit low. I've already talked about that. Does Tucker should... If Shardul Tucker comes back in, it'll probably be based on an injury to the bowler. It won't be based on him being put back in. I think that they're very happy with that side, the way they play. But it may be based on some form of rotation, based on some sort of niggle. Good question. It's probably about the money. Yeah, October 24th, I think the date is. I've got that in my calendar, October 24th. That'll be a pinnacle of a day. It will be great. Well, Virat Kohli's getting the next century. The pressure's off him a bit. He captained and won the match, so the pressure's off him. He should get one in the next 3 tests. It's not a matter of Ashwin deserving a place ahead of Jadeja. It's not about that. It's about the template that Kohli's talking about, the appropriate play for the appropriate ground. And they're not really spin friendly. And Jadeja's in there for an all-round role, not just his spin, but his batting is very highly regarded and his fielding. No. England should complain about pitches. In India, rather. England just shouldn't complain about pitches in India and rather improve playing spin. They lost in their own backyard with conditions supporting their bowling. Exactly right. Exactly right. Why do they give 9 days? I mentioned it before. So I'm not sure what you get. Norman tagline equals the reality is. I'm not sure what you remember that. Thank you, Norman, for answering my question. Thank you. My pleasure. I'm not going to be able to ask everybody's questions. So Group 2 is we know about Group 1. Group 2 is a lot better. Will absence of seats affect? No. I think Judge doesn't. Well, Justin, it's been Mahendra Rajput has been announced today by the CEO that he's supporting him until next year. He didn't actually say he's conclusively in, by the way, but his contract's until then. Oh my God, we should do a whole show about Australia. What's wrong with him? What time is it in Sydney? Look up 10:34 p.m. I agree. Yeah, there was an interesting discussion about this. I've heard a few discussions about this very fact, that the 21 no balls, that there was a deliberate attempt for them to bowl a 10 ball over to Anderson to really get under his skin. Sounds very cheeky. I don't think that's true. I can't imagine them doing that because it's diabolically wrong. So, no, I don't think it's right. But that's what happened. They did bowl 10 balls at Anderson and gave him a hell of a time that evening. Maybe it's something psychological. Maybe there's a bit of. I don't think so. He is Ray PMB 9. You spend the whole afternoon on my YouTube channel asking me every 2 minutes, "Where's this? Where's that? Where's that? Where's this?" Look, I can't have everybody on every day. They can't physically be. I can't expect them to be on there. So they're here. I'm very pleased, and we should be glad when they come. They can't be on every day. We can't have Alan Pretty, this person, that person on every day because it's just not going to happen. You can't do that, guys. Ray, would you spend time talking about cricket and asking me, where are these people? It's really, really annoying. And having just said that, someone's arrived. It's Beram.
I know.
Hello.
Good evening.
There's a guy called Ray, and I'm being cheeky with him, but every 5 minutes he's asking me, where's this person? Where's that person? Where's this person? I wish people would realize I can't have everybody. If I had everybody available, I'd have 300 on the channel. All right.
Yeah, but you have a good, how can you say, a good group of people who come on as required and give some good insights. So that's the best part.
Oh, I mean, look, and the reality is I'm not trying to say it's my channel because I love guests, you know that. But I can't make people, I mean, to get people to come on every night is a huge effort, isn't it?
Yeah, especially that other people are, they have other stuff to do also. So
yeah, right. Norman, where is Alan Mullally at the champ board? He's not here today. And quite frankly, he'll be doing a lot of recorded videos, not many live. But we have to be very careful with YouTube regarding swearing. So we can't have people that swear on the channel. It's dangerous. The reality, Norman's signature move. What does that mean? He heard you, Ravi Shashi will be placed for old doubles. Is that true? Well, that's not true.
People complain that when you have guests on the show, you don't take questions. So they get a little upset. So I think you have better to have a good mix of the both. So
yeah, I mean, that's a great point, Baram. People out there in YouTube land, the days like today when we've got Baram and I on, we can have a chat. We can also ask questions. When I've got 6 or 4 or 5 people on the show, I can't answer questions and deal with the people on the show. So it's a different balance. The days when I'm by myself, which I was for about half an hour then, I'll answer every single question. Okay. When I've got days of 4 or 5 people, I can virtually answer none except for an occasional one. And that's the reality. It's not about picking or choosing anyone. Okay. What's your take on Coley is an unlucky captain? He certainly isn't. Coley's not an unlucky captain, is he, Bram? He's the equal third most successful captain ever. That's not unlucky, is it?
I would say he's a very lucky captain to have a very good team. I don't know, unlucky in terms of the toss, then yes.
Yeah, toss maybe, but isn't it unlucky? He almost won the first test and he won the second test, didn't win the toss in either match.
Yeah, correct.
So, you know what? If he won the toss and he did something and it backfired, he'd be more under scrutiny, wouldn't he?
I had told you last time, Norman, he purposely loses the toss to keep more pressure on the opposition. So
maybe you're right.
That's a reverse strategy.
It could be. Now, they're meant to be announcing the England squad today, Baram. I haven't heard it yet. It's about, 2:30 odd in the afternoon in England. I can't imagine them. I don't know what time they'll announce. I would get a message about the team anyway before it was properly announced, which is good.
What do you expect? So anyway, this will be the big squad, right, of 17 or 20 players. So do you expect some changes?
Sure. But it'd be interesting to see who comes in because Broad's gone. You would argue, well, Chris Wokes, they said, is coming back for the third test, but I'm hearing now that he may not be coming back. I don't know what's going on there. Obviously, Mark Wood's shoulder, I can't imagine him coming back for the next test, at least. And that would leave only Anderson. And Anderson, I think there's an ankle and quad muscle niggle going on there. He looks a little bit ordinary.
In a way, this looks like the England B team then.
But I mean, the
are missing.
Well, I mean, at least James Anderson doesn't have to play in either the IPL or the World Cup. I don't think he's in either of those, so he'll have a bit of a break before the test. But what is Arnold Ingle saying? The reality is it's Norman's signature move. What is it? What does he mean by that? Okay, Norman, do you think?
Did you see my stat that I sent there? That
repeat that.
Yeah, so Joe Root has scored 1,280, 70 something runs in this calendar year for England, whereas the next highest guy is Rory Burns as 367. So that's a huge. So that means their batting is in shambles, complete shambles.
Although, having said that, though, and I'm trying to make it a bit more, what sort of word, balanced. What Joe Root has scored this season is unbelievable, because there hasn't been that many tests, and he scored big. He scored double centuries and centuries. He is probably about 300. Well, I don't know who's the next highest run scorer of any team.
No idea. Need to find
Well,
out.
it would have to be. It could well be an Indian player, right? And I don't know who that would be, but
I doubt it would be an Indian player also.
Well, they've played a fair few tests, so I don't know who it is, but we might Google that later. But I'll tell you what, the next nearest would be 500 or 600 below him. In fact, that puts things in perspective a bit. You're right to say about the England team. The next one's 900 less. It's a very good point.
In this series itself, if you see Joe Root's score in the first two matches, he's like equivalent to what the top two Indian batsmen, that is KL Rahul and Rohit Sharma combined, have scored. So Joe Root in himself is encapsulating the top two Indian batsmen. But after that, the list is like completely. If you see, the top scorers are like, I would say, Pujara.
Okay,
Bumrah,
I've got the stat in front. I've got the stat in front of me. You want to hear it?
Everybody would like to hear.
Joe Root has played 10 matches, 20 innings, 1,277. Rohit Sharma is next after having played 9 test matches, 1 less, 17 innings, 690. So
But
Joe Root's almost.
You were right. The second could be an Indian. Your hunch was correct.
Yeah, and the Thirumalai from Sri Lanka's got 659. I don't know where those runs came from, but so realistically, there aren't many players anywhere near him anyway. So your stats very relevant to the England side. You're right, but in terms of world cricket, it certainly isn't very high. I'll look at. There's another stat here. This is interesting. Against all formats, not just Test cricket now, but just all formats. Joe Root still leads, but Mohammad Rizwan is second, Baba Azam is third, Devin Conway is fourth, and then Tamim Iqbal is fifth. But Iqbal, Azam, Rizwan based on short form games mostly. And Devin Conway, well, he played a fair bit of Test cricket too, didn't he? He got a double century, of course, in the first Test. So, but Conway's not second on Test either. It's Rohit Sharma. And you wouldn't have expected that either. Would you have thought Rohit Sharma was the second biggest run scorer for India? Well, no, he is. Well, the second biggest
just in the world. Like he made the 160 and he made good enough scores. He did not go out cheaply in most of his innings.
Yeah, his batting average in this year is 46.
That's good.
That's excellent, really, considering with COVID and everything, and he's played in both Australia a little bit and at home and here. That's pretty damn good. So, and he's played 9 Test matches. So it's only Joe Root has played more Test matches. So actually, Root's completely well away. But you're right in terms of the England side. No one's near him, and that shows an over-reliance on him for sure. It's a very interesting. That's a great set of stats, guys. It's great. Thanks for.
There was a lot of discussion, Norman, and I was watching the English media also. So there was a lot of discussion in the English media that they were saying, or the English people, they were saying that was this a match that India won from a losing position, or that England lost it from a losing position? So basically what they're trying to say, was it a folly from England's end or folly from, which is a good thought process to think of, because it was, if you look at England's side, it was just lasting 60 overs, which they could not do. And
I would argue it was more India winning than England losing. My thoughts. India scored 270 odd. Okay, there was some bad tactics by Joe Root, but that was incredibly positive from India to do that. Okay, against all odds, and they bowled extremely well to get him out for 120. I believe it's more India playing well than England playing badly. What do you think?
I would say for India to get them in that position. I'm talking about the batting part. That was definitely what India did. India did over there. Yes, maybe some field placements issues which were talk about that uh, they were incorrect. Yeah, maybe. But after that, on the England side, I would say that uh, I would put it 50-50. I would say India's bowling, yes, was good. The pressure acted on them because of loss of those two early wickets. But if you look back at the wickets, which were the wickets which were really good balls? I would say there were 3 or 4 wickets out of the 10 that were of really good balls. Others were, I would say, given away or thrown away wicket, like starting right from the first one of Rory Burns. It was really played very badly. I don't think the ball was very good.
So, okay, sum it up for me, though. Do you think India won the game on the last day or England lost it?
Practically, that happened. But yeah, it's for me, I would say England lost it. They should have batted 2 sessions. Even if you say they don't have their main players or something, I would believe England lost it.
Okay, I respect that. That's a fair summation. My only concern would be to say that India were not expected to win on the last day at all. The percentages were 38% England winning, 31% India winning, which was pretty high at that stage, and 31% a draw. But it was distinctly in England's favour. And by the end of the first session, the first 2 hours, that flipped over to be 24% India and 1% England winning. Now, the only team that had real control there was probably the Indian batting. So even at the point of going to lunch, even at that point, they were saying statistically that it was 1% chance of England winning. That's a pretty demoralising position to be in, wouldn't you say? You would not have expected that to be the case before the day started.
I'm not saying that England winning was my issue, but not at least drawing. They should have at least drawn. That was the point.
Well, that was 75. That was 75% of the result. You're right.
Yeah, them not even draw it was shocking.
Yeah, I mean, it was the word that you're right. The word shocking, or the word that David Graven used, is simply a shock itself. The reality is, you're right. England did do badly in their batting, and Chris Silverwood said it himself in his interview. He doesn't think it's the end of the world, and I agree with him. There's still 3 tests to go. There's plenty of chances for them to come back, but without Broad, possibly Wood, and even Anderson all bowling, and they're subjected to players that are good but not at their peak yet, such as Robinson and maybe Sakib Mahmood or an Overton or even an Ollie Stone. They haven't, and without Chris Stokes, they've effectively lost potentially 4 bowlers. Broad and Wokes look to be out. Wood, I'm sure, is out next match. Anderson would be starting to feel the pinch. You'd have to.
Wood, is it confirmed? Is it official that he won't play?
Well, everyone's saying that he won't play. Okay? We're going to find out very shortly today about the squad, and he may be still in the squad, right? That means he could play later on. We'll get the biggest bombshell if he's not in the squad at all because of injury. That could well happen. He might be. I mean, look, it's August the 28th, right? So 18th. So it's what? It's only about 3-4 weeks until the series is over. Less than 4 weeks, 3.5 weeks. If you've got a bad shoulder injury, you can be ruled out for 3 weeks pretty quickly, couldn't you? So we'll find out how bad the injury actually is, I think, from the squad announcement. If he's in the squad...
Other person also they need to look at is Sam Curran, because I found, okay, forget his batting. He got out on a king pair. Okay, that's not my concern. But his bowling was very timid. And the problem with Sam Curran bowling is, like, if there is no swing, he becomes a very lame or a very simple bowler to face. And the problem is, but if there is swing, you won't. As if I was the English captain, I won't have him bowling. I would better have Anderson and Ollie Robinson bowling than having Sam Curran bowling if the ball is actually swinging. So he does not fit in the balance of the English team. Uh, he does not complement well Anderson and Robinson. I hope you understand what I'm trying to mean.
Absolutely. He's not a good foil for them. He doesn't provide variety in the attack enough, even though he's a left-arm bowler. His pace is down. I found that his pace was quite down. He wasn't bowling with a lot of nip. But they do say that Sam Curran should actually open the bowling with a new ball. Now, that's what they do say. Now, perhaps if Anderson's in the attack with only Wood, without Wood, that is, maybe they might consider Curran and Headingley. I think, if I'm not wrong, I think that's his home ground. I'll check on that, but I think that's his home ground. So there's a few factors that might play in favour of him playing. It's Hamid's home ground, apparently, so you'll find him, I reckon, well, Hamid's going to get another go. He'll probably open now with Burns, and it's a matter of whether Dawood Malan or, I'm not sure, even a James Vince might be considered, or even Crawley might be brought back, and we don't know. But they're the three contenders for the opening spot. Root will be 4, Bairstow will be 5. Whether Butler is there or Pope is brought in, we don't know, because Bairstow can keep, don't forget. And I've got a feeling that they may try to include a full-on batsman, and it won't be Lawrence. Lawrence is gone. He's not going to be selected again. So if they put Bairstow in as batter and keeper, you could maybe not consider playing Butler and put Pope in.
Okay.
That's a possibility. And obviously then you've got...
Sibley might be out, most probably.
Sorry?
Sibley might be out.
I think that unless I'm hearing it wrong, most discussion so far has been around him not playing. I think it would be somewhat of a shock if Sibley's in the side. I would think it'd be some sort of a shock if Sibley's in the side. Don't you think?
I think he should be out. Maybe try something, because the batting is just, and they have been given lots of opportunities.
Yeah, they have. And I think in particular the way they got out in that second innings, as we saw, was the first 2 batsmen got out for ducks, the first time ever in Test cricket in England. Which, don't you find that an incredible stat? You think after 531 tests, the 2 openers would have got out for a duck at least once, but they never have.
I never thought about it. It's only when that thing happens that you like in the India test, first time or it happened after a long time, a spinner took the wicket on the first ball. We never even thought about it, but when it happened, then you come to know that there's something like this also.
But true, bro. But if someone said to you, do you reckon that would be unusual for a spin bowler to get the first wicket of a test match? You would say, of course it would be, because it's quite unlikely. But it's not unlikely for both batsmen to get out for a duck, because it's such a difficult position to open. It's very plausible that you could lose a person for a duck. Or more so, both batsmen. Okay. What do I think about? Well, what's the questions here? I'm trying to answer not every question, but I'm not sure what that question's about. 4-0. Dikshan Anand says 4-0. Do you think it's going to be 4-0?
I had initially said 4-1. Remember once on your show.
Yeah, so you did.
In the first match. Yeah, so I'll stick with my 4-0 now.
Also, you were thinking that the first match would go England's way, did you?
No, India's way. First match would go India. Maybe I thought the 4th match or the 5th match England might win. So maybe I would shift now to 3-1 because of the first match got in the game.
Look, Headingley is going to be a bowler's wicket again. But without Broad and possibly Wood and Anderson not 100%, they've lost their firepower. But there is a star in the making there. Saqib Mahmood, very much like a Siraj, can play with a great deal of positivity and take wickets. So you may see that that might happen. But This is Ray PMB's so-called best Australian side. Warner, Finch. I like Inglis, Maxi, Sonis, Marsh, Agar, sorry, Sarkham's, Zampa, Jai Richardson. Yeah, the only thing is I don't see Cummins has only played about 10, 11 or 12 T20s anyway. For his amount of years of experience, I'm a bit shocked he's only played that few, really, for his country. But it's not a bad side, but it's still not going to be good enough. It does look strong on paper. It does. But we don't know how. I mean, at this point in time, we can only say that Australia are very unlikely to make the semi-finals based on everything we've seen.
In a tough group also. The group, if you see, they have England, West Indies. They are in a tough group.
England and West Indies probably will win that group.
I honestly don't like this having two big groups. Such kind of formats are not... I don't find them beneficial.
Well, how else would you do it?
Yeah, but T20 becomes like, the previous, if you can do it like the ODI World Cup, you have a group of 10 and each plays against each other, and then you have the top 4. That's the most like the 92 World Cup and the previous World Cup. I find that format to be very good.
Yeah, I guess it's a matter of time too. I think you'd think there'd be more time being a shorter format, but it's a good point. But look, it's the way it is. If you're a good enough side, it shouldn't matter what the format is, really. If Australia are the best side or they're in form, they'll beat them all, won't they? The reality is they're not in true form, and they're not better than England and the West Indies at this point in time. They're probably going to struggle against South Africa as well, and even Bangladesh. I think Bangladesh is in this. Well, they've been beaten by Bangladesh for 4-1. So, I mean, look, the UAE is not going to favour Australian batsmen. I'll tell you that much. It's not going to favour Australian batsmen. It's going to be more in favour of the bowling attacks of the subcontinent teams. That's why India will do very well. England seem to like the conditions, even though they're not subcontinent. Yeah, we could even see Bangladesh come through more than we expect. We just don't know.
They have to still go through the qualification. They would definitely qualify, looks like. There was a comment by Arpan saying that only 15 players are out by RC. So only 15 players from each team are allowed to go to the UAE or what?
Sorry, what was it again?
No, I saw one comment from Arpan, I think a while back, saying that only 15 players are allowed or taken care by ICC for the T20 World Cup.
Okay, where was that? This one?
No, there were 15 players. Maybe Arpan, if you can comment that 15 players again, it will be good.
Okay, well, I can't. Let's leave that for the moment. I'm not sure it is. All right, India will beat England. That's pretty much there. How Headingley pitch will play. And again, that's questions coming up. Like, it's a very bowler-friendly wicket. It's overcast conditions in the north. Weather will be a factor. It'll be overcast. But see, that would normally favour the England bowlers, wouldn't it, Baram? But the reality is, India have got the bowlers that can take advantage of it too. I mean, Sharma.
Both for the same. Yeah, see this comment now. 15 players allowed only by ICC.
Where? Sorry. Can't you press on it?
No, I can't.
Read it out.
15 players allowed only by ICC. Their monetary expense borne by ICC. And if team wants to have a bigger squad, they will have to pay their expense.
And I'm pretty sure that'll be, which is fine. And what do you think? That's not enough players, or what do you think?
Well, given the there are already 11 players in a team, and you have the 12th man, so 12 will be, and we are talking about a long tournament. And especially if you see like teams like Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and Ireland, who will be actually there. So there are bound to be injuries. So like see, for big teams like India, Australia, they might get even more players. For them, it's not an issue. But let's say a team like Papua New Guinea qualifies, so it should not be that, because they have, let's say they get injury or something, and they should be at the backtrack because of that.
I would look at it completely differently. I would say a country like PNG wouldn't have 15 top players, wouldn't have more than 15 top players to actually fill the positions, to be really honest with you. I'd be more concerned about that side of it. But look, I think what's fair is fair. If all teams have got the same conditions, so be it.
Okay.
But are you saying that if the wealthier countries can, they'll bring more players?
That's what I understand from the comment. That
okay, if that's the case,
well, that's sponsored by ICC. That's what I understand. Let's say it's Papua New Guinea, so 15 players will be sponsored by them.
Yeah, but I can't see that being fair. That the countries with more money bring more players. Effectively, is what we're saying. I don't know. I would have thought it's just the only fair way to handle it is to have 15. That's it. No matter what else happens, no more. No, unless there's a specific injury, then they put in a request to have the player. If a person injures themselves for the entire tournament, I think they should be allowed to replace them.
Okay.
Because I think there is a rule like that. If someone's injured, especially either prior to the first match or in the very early stages, they can apply to have an exemption. I think they're given that opportunity. But I don't know about this, what you've said about them paying for the balance. That doesn't make any sense because a wealthier country could bring, 40? I'm joking, but I mean, that wouldn't be the way it should operate.
It would be around 25, 26 players like what they do. But the issue is, again, the corona situation, quarantine and everything. Let's say somebody wants to get someone urgently, but it again won't be of much help if even they have to go 7 days of quarantine.
I'm sure the ICC have taken this into account. And don't forget, there'll be a lot of IPL players there from a lot of countries. And what they may do is allow those people to stay on. So that issue... They may stay as reserves, but not, officially be part of the team. Who knows? But I don't know enough about that to go against that. But if they've got 15's the rule, 15's the rule. I think it will be based on an exemption basis, but it'd have to be early on. That's not a bad side. That looks pretty good on paper, that side, to be honest with you.
Did you speak about Justin Langer? Because that's a lot on the news in the Indian media.
Yeah, that was released by the ECB. Sorry, by Cricket Australia today. There's been a lot of backroom discussions, a lot of rumour mongering about Langer not being there for the Ashes or leaving or what have you, even for the World Cup, and that was stomped on the head by Nick Hockley and said he's got the full support of the CEO of Cricket Australia. The only thing is, if Langer decides to quit, that's another story. His contract is until middle of next year, so he'll be there for the World Cup and Ashes and anything up until mid next year.
But I read that some player, like recently, some player complained that they are not happy with him. Like
that's right. There was
who was that?
Because Justin Langer actually asked for feedback. He openly and transparently asked for feedback and got feedback with some concerns, to be honest. Okay. And he said he enjoyed that and welcomed it all and was very happy about it. So it wasn't so much the players were just out and out complaining. It was more that Langer wanted to know and they were honest with him. So he actually asked for it rather than being just given that. Okay.
That's Justin Langer's character also. He's like a feisty character. So every coach has his different. Maybe, I don't know, some players might undergo a different coaching style and when they get
no doubt.
There's no doubt. But that's I don't find that because different coaches are different. Like
Lehman got along with the whole team almost. Really, Lehman was pretty close to Smith and to a lesser extent, but also Warner. He was pretty close to that group. He was fairly laid back. Langer is more disciplined, and I'm pretty sure that you'll find that the likes of Warner and Smith aren't exactly his best friends. Not so much in terms of friendship, but aren't accepting his way as much. As I said earlier, Steve Smith, I can't remember now, it was earlier on this year, came out and said that he pledges to be a good captain for Australia in the future. And Ben Horn was the media person, the journalist, and he had some young kids with bats.
I saw you showed the newspaper review. That was really funny to read.
And I'm thinking, it was actually he tried to do a media personal media campaign to try and have everybody think that that's a good idea, when in fact it backfired. We all thought, who is this guy saying he should be back in there? He hasn't even been selected yet. And and Justin Langer came out and said in a very funny way, what? We haven't even talked about it. Tim, sorry, who's captain? Tim Payne's the captain. What are you talking about? That was a big slap in Steve Smith's face. And those comments from Steve Smith and from Justin Langer tell you there's a problem, don't they?
No, but it was very good for Justin Langer to come out and make a very clear statement and kill off all the talks going around. So that was really good.
And you know what? I would argue that Tim Payne will also be captain until mid next year, based on that.
But that was very weird thing from Steve Smith to be saying, because I'm just looking back at the India like having changes so many captains, but I never saw anybody vying for the captaincy or being so adamant towards that position. So I found that very, very kind of a weird thing.
To be honest with you, Barab, it was very, very unlike Steve Smith. It's not Steve Smith's way to come out and say something that stupidly and that sort of almost arrogantly. He's not like that, which makes me wonder who was behind that. Was he influenced by perhaps, I hate to say it, but the Warner camp? That's almost Warner-like what he did. And Warner's, got a very strange, I don't know what's going on there, but Warner and Smith seem to be still pretty close. And they got their own little camp there. And I think Payne and the bowlers, there's dissension. And that's where the problem is. We all want Steve Smith and Warner in the side because of their batting ability, don't we? Because they're great batsmen. They're great to watch. They're great at long and short formats of the game. But I don't know whether they're actually politically damaging the team. I don't think there's harmony. And that goes right back to, of course, Sandpaper Gate. It comes back time and time again. I don't want to go on about that, but it's not going to go away until Warner and Smith are not on the side. And we also don't want him to go because they're both very, very good batsmen. And without them in the side, that year that they weren't there, we had a lot of pretty bad batting efforts without them there. So we missed them. If I were the head of, if I was Nick Hockley, I'd be getting Smith and Warner in a room and saying, right, guys, we want you to play for Australia, but would you shut up about this whole other crap and start to pull your head in and do what you're told? You're getting paid good money and you're the best players, but don't think you dominate the rest of them. That's my thoughts. That's what I would do.
But after that Sandpaper Gate, to be very open, Norman, I was there, my friend circle and a lot of India. We were really shocked at the decision, because before that also there were many cases of players from other team doing some kind of ball tampering, but it was never so. And this was a decision by Cricket Australia themselves, right? This was not a ICC ruling. So it was we felt it was very, very harsh.
Okay. I agree with you. I agree with you being a harsh decision in terms of the length of time. But the effect that this arrogance, this hubris, as they call it, over the Australian side, the board, the management, the committees, was very severe. So what this did was brought all of that to a head. Not just simply the fact that they did the Sandpaper Gate. It was the arrogance and the carry-on that went around that. The fact that the coach and the chairman, as in Sutherland, didn't come out and sort that out straight away. The issues that were really bad were what was around that incident, to be honest with you. And in doing so, Sutherland put a very heavy fine on them all, right? As in time-wise. And it backfired because it was too harsh, you're right, but also it was very stupid what happened. It was a whole lot of issues. It wasn't just simply the incident.
And wasn't that the ban was harsh because so many people, like even the Australian Prime Minister, reacted and gave a comment? And was that a reason that caused this harsh ban, or that had nothing to do with that?
Not really. It wasn't really. Look, the bottom line was not long after those three guys were banned, Darren Lehman also went. Also, the CEO went. Pat Howard, the high performance, whatever he was, went. Other marketing management people went. The media manager was sacked. There was all sorts of things that happened. It wasn't just one. It was probably half a dozen to a dozen changes, and they were all needed. And then they brought in Nick Hockley on a 12-month temporary basis, and he did a fantastic job, and now is the permanent. He's English. He was in charge of the World Cups leading up to it. He's a great guy, a very easy to get along with guy, and is the best thing for Australian cricket so far, I think, for a while. And the other person is they brought in who else was the other person they brought in? It was just a lot of change. They got a new media manager who was better, and a lot of good things have happened. Really, a lot of very good things have happened in terms of management, and the board has improved, which is really good. But they've still got the problem with the Warner Smith hangover. Bancroft's gone, and the fact is Tim Payne was always seen as a temporary captain, but they haven't had anyone else coming through to take his place. Anyway, that's enough about that. We've talked about that enough. Ollie Pope cannot bat at number 3. That's true. He does have a 50-plus average, but his performances at test level have been ordinary, and he's been batting down the order, and he's been ordinary. So if he gets back in, he won't be going into a first drop. That'll be baptism by fire, won't it, really? They need someone who knows how to bat at that position. Darwin Milan's one that I think is worth a go. Possibly true. Erin Burns does not deserve his place. Well, Burns has done well enough on enough occasions to warrant his spot. I think overall his technique's a bit weird. He's played a couple of bad shots here and there, but he is worthy of continuing with. No, that was not England's C team, Mercenary. That was not England's C team at all. That was England's team.
This definition of B or C team is very tricky. Like, okay, you have a strong 11 players. If one is injured in another player, do you call that a B team? Like, so where do you draw the line saying that this becomes a B team or this becomes a C team? So that discussion is a very, I don't say it's a proper way to say. It's part of the game. Players get injured, players see, in case of the India-Sri Lanka thing was a very clear thing that there was a test side over here, and obviously some players did not. So that was a different situation. But players getting injured and going out is part of the game. That's part of the game of cricket. That's when you have these you have 5 test matches. It also sees into the physical capability. That's why you see like some teams might win the first 2 test matches but be very bad in the last 3 and might lose the series. So that's really the fitness and the physical capability of people going around.
Exactly. I mean, I don't care who's in the side. That's England. That's India. That's Sri Lanka. There's no ABC. If it's officially an A side, if they're going on tour as a bunch of young guys, different story. But if they're representing their country, there's no such thing. I don't care who's playing. It's their national side. Now, let's go through the sides for a minute. Again, we've talked about it already a bit, but the England side for me, and I'll get you to tell yours, Berra. I would have Hamid opening with Burns. I have Darwin Milan at first drop, Root second, Bairstow 4. I'm thinking Pope and Butler out, to be honest with you. Okay. And then Moeen Ali needs to stay. And then the bowlers would be Anderson if fit, Wood if fit, but if Wood's not fit, then they have to consider Saqib Mahmood. And then they'll have Ollie Robinson. And then, well, Sam Curran's a big question mark. I'm going to give him another go.
Okay, so Bairstow will be keeping.
Yep.
Okay.
Don't forget, Bairstow's played 75 tests or 76 tests, whatever it is. And he was keeper for a large chunk of those tests. I think a lot of people have been saying, why have they got 2 keepers inside? And I kind of agree. They need to pick one or the other. And Butler's not been playing well. That's my thoughts.
Yeah.
What about you, Baram? What would you do?
Well, the team combination, what you said, I would actually try to get in one more batsman because that's what they need. They are.
So you're looking at Sam Curran not being there then?
Yeah, maybe get a batsman in his place.
Because Chris Wokes would be a perfect inclusion, and I thought he was available for the 3rd test, and even Joe Root talked about the 2nd test where he wanted him in then, but he didn't come, and Ali came. So we'll wait and see. Look, I'm very, very excited about the England squad. They're meant to be announcing that today.
Stokes plays a big part in this English team, otherwise, because without him, the whole balance really screws away.
Huge involvement. He's very, very important.
What about Gary? Just balance. I remembered. What about Gary Balance?
Yeah, I don't know. He's still playing county cricket as far as I'm aware. I think we're going back into the depths of selections to bring him in, to be honest with you. No one's mentioning him. He is in the numbers, but I don't think so. Well, this is an interesting thing. This is another one. Devin Conway said Bairstow to open and Milan at 4. That's not exactly bad either, because but then he's suggesting Hamid stays at 3. I don't know, but I think that's. Can Cook be recalled? No, he can't.
Bairstow opens with Hamid, and you get Rory at 3.
Yeah. Somebody's asking to be blocked. I will if you want me to. I'll block you. Okay. So, enough about the England side. Are you happy with the Indian side?
I would say yes, continue with this. Maybe experiment with Ashwin in place of Jadeja if the batting is clicking, and see maybe he might give a punch, because Jadeja did not give any punch in the bowling other than reducing the time required or helping in the time for the bowling. Otherwise, I did not see him giving any kind of trouble to the English batsman. Maybe Ashwin might give that trouble to them.
I reckon there's something behind him not being selected. He's the best spin bowler in the world, no doubt. But is it a dynamics thing? I don't know. I think previously they've always gone to Ashwin when they're in trouble. This time they've had to use Siraj, Shami, Ishant and Bumrah more without relying on Ashwin. I have a feeling there's something to do with that as well.
No, one thing I would say, I'm very happy with the mindset of the Indians that they need to select their players based on the pitch conditions. So I think after the WTC they realized that. I think it came as a very rude shock to them, but it's good that they came. So though maybe Ashwin might be the best spinner right now in the world, but if the pitch conditions don't suit, they don't suit. So doesn't make sense on that. But if you're playing to play one spinner and your batting is doing well, then I would say maybe experiment with Ashwin in place of Jadeja, but have four seamers. I feel these English current conditions warrant that.
Yeah, but I get you. But you and I agree, and I think Suman Awashi says I don't think India should change a squad wide breaking winning combination. I think that's fair. I think we'll see Ashwin definitely play the 4th test at the Oval. Okay, that's
spin. I don't know, it's spin friendly.
Yeah, it does. It's more sprint friendly. Manchester is going to be the same as Leeds. It's going to be wetter, and England have almost always the Oval's the last test, and surprisingly they're thrown in Manchester, Old Trafford, that is, as the last test here for the first time. I can't remember the last time. So that is predominantly a bowler's wicket, and weather-wise, it's horrible in September. So have England done that deliberately? That's interesting why they've done that. To favour their own bowlers more? It's interesting.
Like also happened with the Australia, like people were saying Gabba, but yeah, maybe that was played in the summer, right? Usually Gabba is the first match that is played, but this time it was the last.
Well, I'm trying to think why they changed that around, and it was actually a mistake for Australia, because if the pitch was used in November like it normally is, I think it may have had something to do with the whole COVID situation, to be honest. May have had something to do with it, but having played that first, not first, the pitch was much better to bat on when it was played later in the season. Had it been first up, it would have been a lot wetter, a lot more rain, it would have been green up top, and it would have been a lot faster and bouncier. And they stuffed it by playing. Well, they're doing something different this time as well, because this time Perth is the last test. Normally it's always Sydney, which is interesting.
Oh, you're talking about the Ashes?
The Ashes is Perth is the last one. Okay. The Gabba was the last one previously. That both years has been stuffed around a bit. I don't know whether there's any true logic
When it
behind
comes to India, this question never comes because there are so many grounds and it changes. So we don't think, oh, first is playing here. But in England and Australia, I see that, oh, the first is this is the cycle how it goes. But in India, it's never like that. We never.
Is that a
think
good thing or a bad thing? Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I would say it's a good thing for England and Australia because they very well know the time of the year and how that ground behaves. So, like in case of Gabba, when maybe that might be a reason also because that changed the situation. So, one way it's a good thing that players know exactly what's going to happen this time of the year uh, at the ground. Whereas in
Yeah.
India, but in India anyway, it's more to do with the dry conditions and anyway spin wickets, and that does not much affect.
But I think it's also to do with the there's a form of tradition about the Test series in England or Australia. I would argue it's a bit like a tennis tournament. You've got Australian Open, French Open, Wimbledon, and US Open. In Sydney, in the Tests, we normally play Brisbane, say Adelaide, Melbourne, Sydney, and Perth somewhere early on as well. But it's usually Brisbane, Adelaide, Melbourne, Sydney is the order, and Perth maybe second or third test, depending on the conditions. Or that's the way I think it should be. It's tradition. It's like, it's kind of, we all like it that way. In England, I think they should have done as well. I don't know why they're changing it. And if India were to play a 5-test series and they were to pick their 5 best grounds or the traditional grounds, you would expect Wankhede, maybe Chennai, Eden Gardens,
and
probably Delhi. Where?
Ahmedabad, I think, because that's one of the.
That's fairly new. But yeah, that's quite good. But it's probably something like Mohali, Chennai, Kolkata, Mumbai, and Delhi. That probably would be. Bangalore would probably be another one, but that's probably the core places. Now with Ahmedabad, you've just said Ahmedabad, didn't you say? That's coming. That's new. What are they going to do with that?
Renovated, but before that, they used to play a lot of tests over there, and also the one in Rajasthan, the one in Jaipur also. Savai Mansingh also, they used to play in the 2000s or before that. A lot of tests used to be played there. But supply when this started, the tests got supply don't see tests over there.
I'm going to just Google it now, and I don't think it really matters, but I'm just saying I'm writing most tests on Indian cricket grounds. Not sure that's going to come out.
It should be Chennai.
I mean, Eden Gardens, Wankhede would be. I mean, there's also Brabourne actually too, but I was just seeing what they says. It says, okay. Well, they're actually looking at the whole world there. But Lords has had this is an interesting thing to do. Lords has had the most test matches of any ground, 141. Melbourne, SCG, Oval, London, Old Trafford, Adelaide, Headingley, Basin Reserve, Wellington, Trent Bridge, Brisbane, Gabba, Queen's Park. I'm trying to find out when the first Indian ground turns up. National Stadium, Karachi's had more tests than any Indian ground, would you believe? The most. It looks like the most used
because in
ground.
India they rotated. The reason that's what I'm saying, Norman. It's not like fixed. You have these 5 stadiums.
No. I know that, but I'm just wondering if it were to be on history. I would say Eden Gardens has had 42 test matches on that ground, so that would have to be one of your main grounds ever, obviously. Then you've got. Let's have a look here. You've got the next one that's down the track is Chennai. And then Delhi. So it's in order of Kolkata, Chennai, Delhi. They're your top 3. And then Mumbai, which kind of fits into what I was discussing earlier, wasn't it? And then, Brabourne's up there as well. So Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad's been used 14 times, but under different names. So, and Chandigarh, they're the ones that kind of stick out, and I would have expected that. Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, and
Even the
Kolkata.
Pune Stadium, I believe, has given. So you might see even test matches over there.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to say, if you had to work out an Ashes, an equivalent of an Ashes, right, between India and England, or India versus Australia, one of the two, let's say, make them a 5-test series traditionally every year or every 4 years, 2 years, whatever. Those grounds would have to be, you'd figure Delhi, Kolkata, Chennai, and Mumbai would be the 4, and maybe a 5th in Bangalore or something like that. Anyway, it's just interesting to see it that way.
So just coming back, so what for like all the Ashes that happen in Australia and England, every time the 5 grounds are exactly the same.
Yep, it's only the only it's always MCG. It's always the Gabba, or has always been the Gabba. Adelaide Oval, MCG, and SCG, and Perth would be the 5th.
Okay, but there are more test playing grounds in Australia, right?
Well, Hobart's become one. Canberra's become one, but that's it.
Adelaide, no.
Yeah, I've already said Adelaide. Okay. Brisbane, as in Gabba, Adelaide, Melbourne, MCG, SCG, and Perth. That's 5.
Okay.
They're the traditional 5 because we haven't got that many big cities, I guess, as well. We mustn't forget, but they're the big 5, and possibly Hobart and Canberra come into play now, but they're not normally used in the top 5. So we're quite lucky. We don't have that many options in terms of.
Yeah. And same in case of England, they also have the same 5 grounds.
Yeah, it does seem that way. It does seem that way. The 5 we're seeing now would probably be the top 5. It might include Cardiff as well, but that's in Wales. That would be another one they would consider. But yeah, that's probably the Oval and Lords definitely. Headingley or Edgbaston's another one, and I don't think Edgbaston's being played in this Test series actually. It's not. No. It's not actually because it's actually Trent Bridge, Leeds, Manchester, Oval, and Lords plus Edgbaston. So they've got 6 actually. So this time around, I think Headingley's been used as opposed to Edgbaston, I think. But they've got 6 that they normally use.
See, one advantage which India has in having more grounds is like they might put a test match on a ground which the other team has never played or has no idea. So
they don't do that. They don't do that.
That can be also something that can be seen.
But India do that. India do that. They've got probably about 20 grounds they can
do. But I'm saying it's an advantage. That is an advantage that I see for India, that India can do that.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I can't give you the reasons. The BCCI seem to be. They've got so many grounds. They've got so many people, and therefore they have to cater for different populations. I think. I mean, the ground up at not Ahmedabad, but what's the other ground I'm thinking about?
Mohali.
No, the other one up north, Dharamshala.
Okay.
That is a fantastic place for cricket. What a great backdrop. That is beautiful. I hope they play more Test matches there. In fact, I'm frustrating. I haven't been to a Test match there, and last time I missed out pretty well, and I'm disappointed about that. I'll go back again. But I'm trying to go to the World Cup. I've been talking with Extra Time and ABP and a few different other Indian outlets. They're all going. I might go with them. So that's my plan. But I'm getting my second jab on Friday, which today's Wednesday. So, a couple of days away, I'm getting my second jab. So, have you had both of yours?
Yeah, I had both mine about 2-3 months back. Yeah. You are taking Pfizer, right? You took that?
Yeah.
So, but what's the gap only? It's because here they are giving Pfizer after 21 days.
Really?
Between first and second dose.
Yeah, there's a lot of test grounds in India. My God, Ranchi, Kanpur, Dharamshala, Nagpur, Pune. My God, you've got so many, haven't you?
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like, we never think about the test venues, to be honest, Norman. Like, that was very surprising when I saw you and Vernon discussing and talking about it. I thought it's so then it struck me. Oh yeah, you every time play only on these 5 venues. So even there is a slight change of one becoming first and last, So only thing what you can change is the sequence. But in case of India, we never even think about that because every time
look at the top 10. This is the top 10. Lords, MCG, SCG. So MCG and SCG are second and third. The Oval in London, Old Trafford, Adelaide Oval, Headingley, Basin Reserve, Wellington. So Wellington gets an early discussion. Trent Bridge, and then the Gabba. Then you finally get one in the West Indies at Trinidad, and then Cape Town, Newlands, Kensington over Barbados. Edgbaston comes in after that, which is Sabina Park in Jamaica, Eden Gardens and Auckland, which is funny because Eden Gardens really is a rugby ground, not a cricket ground. Kingsmead, Durban, Wacker. So all the Australian wickets they're very almost included almost up front, the most test matches. As I said, the first one to hit for India was Eden Gardens, starting from 1934.
How many test matches played there?
In Eden, 42.
That's a far cry from 140 of Lords.
It's interesting. So from 1934 in Eden Gardens to 2019 in Eden Gardens. Okay, that's the record they've got here. They've had 42 matches. But at the Sinhalese Sports Club in Colombo, 50 years later, in 84 was their first test match. But they've got one more test match now than Eden Gardens. Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, the reason being, Norman, is because each state, I think Arpan has very clearly given the answer. It's because each state association, they have their quota, so they have to shift it.
It's not a partner. Amaresh Shins. BCCI has to satisfy all these state boards because they carry votes and president. Yeah, okay, that's fair enough. I get that. It's a fair point, but it's just interesting though. The Sinhalese Sports Club has had more test matches there in 50 years less than India's had test matches. It's an interesting stat.
Yeah, maybe if you look at, if you let's say take Zimbabwe, they have only 1 or 2 grounds, so you might find them be at a higher position. Or Kenya, if you take Nairobi.
That's true. Actually, you're right. Zimbabwe, Harare has 39. It's only 3 behind Conk. It's interesting though. It's just interesting. That's all. It's a rather
It's a question of demand and supply.
I guess, and tradition too. I'm bringing some pommies. I have had English guests for the last 6 or 7 days in a row, haven't I? I've had everybody.
I would suggest add some South Africans, West Indians, so that will give a much more.
I'm going to have some South Africans and West Indies for the World Cup. I'll bring in Merv Richards, who's been many a time for the West Indies, and the South African influence. Probably there's a few that I've got in mind there that I know very well that will be a part of that. But at the moment, it's not really necessary to have a West Indian and a South African talking about an India-England series, though, would you? It wouldn't put them on for that. Chennai, Wankhede, and Kolkata are the iconic grounds. That's true. The Eden Gardens, those 3 they're the most iconic. But see, the one that we didn't mention was Bangalore. Chinnaswamy Stadium is a magnificent stadium.
Yes.
Have you been to that one?
I've been to that stadium. In India. I've been to obviously Pune. I've been to Wankhede, Brabon. I've been to Savai Mansingh. That's the one in Jaipur. And I've been to Chinnaswamy Stadium. And I've seen the Madras, the Chennai Stadium from outside. Not been inside to see it from inside.
Yeah, I've been to Kolkata, Wankhede. I've been to Brabourne. I've been to Chinnaswamy. I've been to the Kolkata venue, the Madras Cricket Club. I've been to Delhi's one in Ahmedabad. I've been to Amritsar, which has not a ground specifically, but anyway, I've been a lot as well. But Jaipur interests me. What was Jaipur's like? I've never been to that ground. What's that like?
It's a good stadium. The SF, they call it short form as SMS. Savai Mansingh, they call it the SMS stadium. So I've been there. It's a good one.
Okay.
But they have a different feel because when I saw the SCG, for me it was a very different experience. Like the whole ground structure, the big and because I was brought up in Pune, the first cricket stadium that I saw was the Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium. The stadium is actually right now it's it's not defunct, but it's no longer ODI or matches play there because it has a very small capacity, and due to the reservations and all that, so they have stopped it. That's why Pune got a new stadium of the MCS Stadium. So after seeing that small stadium of Jawaharlal Nehru and then seeing these stadiums in Australia was a big different experience for me.
But the motivation to have Ahmedabad, that new stadium, or the revamped new stadium, is that politically motivated?
You can say yes.
Yeah, so
High possibility.
So that's the problem. And I'm being honest with you. The way that in Sri Lanka, Hambantota, which is down the very south, in the middle of nowhere, Rajapaksa, the president at the time, decided to build a ground and everything down there, and his name was all over it. That was not done for any smart reason because there are plenty of grounds in Sri Lanka. They did not need, or could they afford, that new stadium. They went into a huge debt, and the Chinese built the port down there and they made them default, and then China obtained the port from Sri Lanka, so they controlled the port. It was a complete mess. It was a complete financial disaster. There was no need for a ground in Hambantota at all. I'm only arguing the one that's at Ahmedabad. Was it a financial disaster, or is it going to serve a purpose? That's the question I've got.
I don't think it will be a financial, because there are people there. Recently, if you see, they had the test match. It was full. So I don't think that will be an issue. See, anyway, it's not. It is political. Like the biggest statue in the world has also come up in Gujarat. So if you're aware, the biggest statue in the world.
Biggest factory.
Biggest statue.
Statue.
The tallest statue in the world.
Okay. And look, I'm not knocking that. But I'm just saying to you, sometimes in certain countries of the world, the biggest, newest stadiums are in locations maybe not conducive to being a cricket hub, and the money's wasted based on something other than what it should be done. The MCG, SCG, Adelaide Oval, Gabba and Perth, although, except for Perth, they've all been historical grounds. Very, very much the case in Perth. They had the Wacker, which was a traditional test ground. They're playing in a dome stadium called Optus Stadium, which is just an AFL ground, really, being able to play cricket. And that's upset me because that's not a traditional ground at all. They built that brand new one near the existing one. That was a bit of a stupid thing to do. Munchie's afternoon to Munchie, just listening in, meaning he's not coming on air. Although we have been asked for a pommy. Munchie, could you summarise in your text message there about typical Leeds, Headingley weather?
And the pitch.
Well, the pitch will be a fast track based on the weather. Norman, it seems to me the pitch is more of an issue really in a country like India. The pitch will traditionally be a bowling pitch, as in medium pace to fast bowling pitch. And only the oval's one which will take spin. Norman, the CCI didn't make the new ground. It was always there. It's been extended, and government is going to develop a sports village. You'll get to play every sport under this. Okay, fair enough. But I just don't know why you need another test ground in India, really.
It's not a new test ground again. It's like the old one was there. It was developed bigger. But I'll take it to a broader concept, that what I've seen in India, that the development towards sports and sports facility. See, cricket anyway, there is BCCI and gets a lot of money. But other sports, like all the sports for Olympics, they are getting a good facilities are coming up. So that's one good sign that 5 years, 10 years from now in the Olympics or other events, you would see Indian athletes really coming up, and that's really good signs.
Well, that's a great
route and everything.
Actually,
for me, my lifetime is like in my bucket to see India in the semi-finals of the World Cup football. Like if that can be achieved in my lifetime, I would be really happy.
But you made a good point. Maybe it's more than just cricket. Maybe that's potentially an opening and closing ceremonies venue in India for the future. Couldn't it? I mean, you've also got Salt Lake City Stadium in Kolkata, which is massive as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I would like to see India hold an Olympics, but I think I spoke to Boy Majumdar at an Olympic special a few weeks ago, and he and I talked about that very fact about whether India should host an Olympics. He said, one step at a time, they need to have a youth Olympics or a Commonwealth Games again and make a better fist of that to then go for the Olympics. As we know, the next Olympics to be decided is 2036, which is a long way off. Headingley is an interesting one. It's a classic weather wicket, meaning bat when sunny or bowl when overcast. The pitch is very good and tends to flatten out as the game goes on. So it becomes more of a batting pitch towards the end. Interesting game. Interesting pitch, actually. We might see some good batting there. Weather-wise, Leeds would normally be wetter than the south of England. That's annoying, isn't it? Because they've played already, well, one match in bad weather. This one was okay.
When does not rain in England? Is there any? I'm not familiar with the climatic conditions of England, but with cricket is the only way. But I feel like it looks like every time it just rains, or it's raining somewhere.
Oh, I've been to England plenty of times and have had great weather all the way through. The long-term forecast is looking dry to start. Well, it's only a week away, so yeah, it's not that long-term forecast. So Delhi's playing a bit for the Olympics. That's exciting. What's your prediction for the Australia-India women's test? That's a good question. Erin Singh. Look, it's being played in Australia. That's already a huge advantage to Australia, isn't it? Huge advantage to Australia. And the Indian side's pretty good. The Sri Lankan side was there not long ago and they got smashed. But India are going to have a very difficult time because it's in Australian conditions. But it'll be a good test for India and their future if they play well in Australia. But Australia should win relatively easily, I have to say. Munchie meant to say it was similar to Lord's, okay. Munchie, can you explain why they're going centre, south, north, south, and then north again? That's a great question. Munchie's survived. Okay. So what, Munchie, can you answer this question? This is a good one. I like that one. Why have they changed the matches around? So, no. Okay, so he doesn't know why. Let's discuss Afghanistan cricket, Norman. Apparently, the Taliban are its biggest cheerleader. Now, that's a ridiculous comment, you know. That's not what the reality is. Anyone in Afghanistan likes their cricket. I'm afraid religion, you know, politics, they love their sport. So the reality is that Afghanistan cricket players will be available for the IPL, I believe. And that they'll be, and in fact, I don't even know whether they ever really stay in Afghanistan very long during a season. They're usually away, aren't they? There was always grass on the deck to keep the pitch from breaking up and get the deck to last 5 days. Yeah, that's true.
Is there any research, like, I don't know, Norman, you are much more from deeper cricket, but is there any research on what type of grass done or which is good for the wicket or help the ball swinging? Because grass also, there are a lot of varieties of grass. So,
it's actually not, it's not so much the grass, it's more the soil, actually. It's the soil. Because couch grass is quite common in most parts of the world. What it comes down to is the soil. And in Australia, for example, the Sydney Cricket Ground has what they call bulleye soil from the south coast of Sydney. And that type of soil it's very, very special soil, and it's really a limited stock, and they use it specifically for the test ground, or for the ground, and that's a particular type of soil. Obviously, there's more clay-based in places like India, and in Australia and South Africa, similar in England. So it's a lot more of a richer soil, I guess, as well. But it's more the soil necessarily and way that holds together than the actual grass. Because when a pitch is brought back to a pitch level, it's almost only the clay or the soil rather than the grass. Like, yeah, I mean, in England and New Zealand, the pitches are very similar. Rashid Khan is looking to get his family out. Their team can't represent a government in exile. Let's see. I doubt Taliban will be able to fill this side. Okay, that's not even. I don't want to go down that track. Although people have been saying that I've got a Taliban look about me with my beard, and I shouldn't. I've been jokingly told.
On me, you are the beard of knowledge look.
Bit of knowledge. The reality is, if I go out on the streets of Sydney and ask about which I want to do, I'm actually not allowed to go out and do it at the moment. I'm actually technically not allowed. I could be fined a lot of money because there is restrictions on movements. Okay. But I love to be able to, interview people on the street.
You can go out for walks, right? You are allowed for walks, right?
So what?
You are allowed to go out for walks, right? Because I see my sister. She calls me. So
yeah. I can do that. Yes, I can, but I can't just go out and start interviewing people on the street.
Yeah, correct. Because if you're close, I think you need to wear the mask.
Yeah, certainly. But I think it's more than just the mask. It's more the just you're not supposed to be doing that. It's not. You go out. You only go out if it's necessary. And you would argue it's not necessary for me to interview people on the streets at the moment, other than my ratings, maybe. Yeah. All right.
Norman, I'll take your leave.
All right, go please. Thank you for joining me, Baram. Much appreciated.
Thanks a lot, Norman. I hope
I'll see you in the next few days.
Maybe Munchie also comes on. People like him a lot.
Take care.
Okay, take care, Norman. Have a nice day. Bye bye.
Bye bye. I don't think this is Munchie's comment here. I don't think it will be shaved, and probably won't be too long a grass. They will want 5 days to maximise revenue in the ground. It will always be a very noisy 5 days. Okay, noisy as and bouncy, I'm guessing. If pitches in England, New Zealand, why is it not in there too much? Yeah, New Zealand's a hard one. If you don't play there regularly, it's very hard to come down and play. What I was trying to say, Norman, is that... Okay. All right. So Munchie rain will probably help us get to 5 days later. Why the Australian and England crowds pass it? Yeah, it's a common problem. Australia was particularly bad earlier on in the year. It's a bit of a pity, actually. I'd say racist comments have certainly been a problem for some time, actually. And it's not just even racist; it's just general comments that are untoward. It doesn't have to be necessarily racial. It's something that can be insulting, which may not be necessarily racial. Yeah, it's a very good point. There's a lot of issues but England and Australia are both very multicultural countries. So I don't know whether it's really as big an issue as we think, but just sledging from a crowd to a player about anything, whether it's his wife or his mother or a nationality does come into play, it's wrong. There's no doubt about that. It's completely and utterly wrong and should never be accepted. Never, ever be accepted, as we would always say that. So, yeah. Noisy as in crowds. Indian supporters and the Western Terraces for the English. Okay. This is at Leeds. Well, I mean, Old Trafford's not exactly quiet either, is it, Munchie? Okay. More than the pitch in New Zealand is the wind that caused more problems for the visiting team. Yeah, New Zealand's got incredible conditions. It's very difficult. Just waiting for the Holly stand, going to be too vocal. Blame the man and all that, but why is alcohol allowed on this grounds? It should be reserved to members or people from a known fan group if need be. It's interesting because England have got more of a tradition of bringing, in fact, and Munchie can correct me here, they're allowed to bring 1 bottle of alcohol into the ground. In Australia, we're not allowed to bring any bottles of any sort into the ground, especially alcohol. And we're very controlled with the use of alcohol zones, etc. The members area is rather controlled, even though it's a bit more accessible. It's quite strict. England seems to be a bit laxer. I'm not saying it's wrong, but it's interesting that they're not stronger or tighter or stricter. Let's not forget it's usually just 2 guys out of 20,000 making nasty comments. That's true, but 2 is more than enough to cause a real problem for the game. There are plenty of chanting from the crowds, but I would be very disappointed about actual not racist comments. We are making huge efforts to stamp out racism in all sports. Yeah, that's a fair point, especially in England, but same in Australia. But Australia has issues on it. Don't worry, we've got some rather uncouth, is the word, uncouth, as in unruly behaviour. And I think there's a video I've got on, you'll see recently, they swore to high heaven. It's quite disturbing, actually. South Africa have to have the best discipline because they can go into one hell of a mess when it comes to a racial battle there. Headingley and Birmingham are the noisiest. I heard the Vernon household munchie is the noisiest, with Reg there and sometimes Chris going off. Is that right? When you turn up? I'm not sure about that. Cricket Australia admitted there were some bad comments. Yes, whether they were fully racist, I don't know the extent to which, but they certainly went and they said it. I love Leeds ground. It has that vintage feel about it. True. What do you think about Chris Silver's interview? It was a very good one. He's a very good. I think he's a very good coach. He supported Joe Root entirely. He also accepted some of the blame. He mentioned they're not rushing Ben Stokes back. He knows there's certain things they need to improve on. The batting and the batting coaches are there. They thought they bowled well in part and batted well in part. They certainly did. They would lead for most of the game. They're not. He wasn't alarmist at all. And he did admit there maybe a need to change. He was a bit circumspect when they talked about simply. But I think he was almost telling us that there were going to be changes. It was a good interview, which I've got on my YouTube page there. It's got a couple of thousand views. They can buy in the ground, right? No limit. Alcohol, well, there's a limit. There's always a responsible service of alcohol that they can buy, yes. 1 bottle, 4 cans of beer, something like that. It's very expensive inside the grounds. Yeah. New Zealand spectators in the World Series were all shirtless with wine and bowler ravages. Oh, okay. You know, and what's up? Hello there, Akshat. We love the Australian team and gave respect whenever they went to India. True, they should do it back. You're right. I would love your efforts on YouTube. Thank you very much, Pawan. It's time to hear me open. I agree. Milan, good evening, guys. Hope everything's doing fine. Hello, Milan. Milan, where are you again? Milan, are you in Austria or where are you, in Italy or Austria? Just tell me where you are. Well, the announced squad for the rest of the matches today. It's meant to be today. I'm waiting for it. I'm pressing my phone because I'll have a message there to say what it is. So I've just had Debash just say he'll inform me as soon as he gets to know it. So it hasn't been announced yet. In England, it is almost 4 p.m, so they might announce it later on tonight. Yeah, Munchie's not gone to the ground yet, I don't think. One thing I have noticed is England have maybe 6 good bowlers, but they don't have the extra depth like in their Wood, Curran, and a bit. Well, yeah, agree. Ollie Stones were thrown at our team bus and our son when they toured in 2019, so we are not great either. That's not good to hear. I am in the south, several hundred miles from Leeds. But why didn't you go to Lords so much? Hot Rod, Sonu, London, you're back. How are you, Hot Rod? You're an old favourite of mine. You've been here for a while. England missing Ben Stokes, absolutely, big time. England have depth, they're just all injured. Well, that means they've got no depth. If they're all injured, they can't confirm. Stones, yes. I am from Austria. That's right, Milan. We've had you before. I was in India for the last couple of months, therefore could not connect to the live streams, but now I'm back in Austria. Well, she's working. Okay, well, can't you take a half an hour break? What platforms are you most active on? I mean, Instagram and Twitter. Twitter a little bit, not much. Instagram more. I mean, where do you check your stuff? If you want to message me, it's Instagram, which is at Norm Koch. I'm going the way. I'm planning on going there. I am absolutely planning on it. What's your scoreline prediction of the series? So I'm saying 3-1. I actually said 2-2, but I'm now moving more towards 3-1. As in India's way, of course. Yes, Google Kit. Okay. Is there any chance for Ashwin and Headingley? I'd say no. No matter how expensive, those day 5 tickets were just pure gold. I want to watch a game like that live. I'll dodge you. I'm wrestling that would have been worth every day. But have I been to India? Have I been to India? Is the Pope Catholic? Of course I've been to India, probably about 20 times. And to most places. A few places I haven't been to, but I've been to most places. Thanks, Shima. I mean, the great cricketers have got their show, I've got my show. They're good guys. There's a lot of people out there. So I might join one day. We'll see. Norman, what will be England's strategy for the third test? Bat better than they did in this test. But look, don't rely all on Root. Get other batsmen involved. Bairstow's got to be given more of a chance. Hamid hopefully will fire more. and maybe David Milan might be announced. They need an authoritative first drop batsman. They need someone with authority above brute. They didn't get that from Crawley. Hamid was out of position. Simply fell out almost every time. Rory Burns is the only one. Yeah, I'd have either Root goes to first drop or they bring in David Milan. Smith, yes, and Steve Smith. Yeah, he made a comment on Sunil Gavaskar's page about the match. He made some comments there, which is nice, but I'm wondering what his motivation was. Pawan, when I come there, we're going to have all of the members all join up. We're going to have dinners and lunches. We're going to celebrate. I'm going to all go all over the place. You can talk to Melinda Farrell too. I know Melinda very, very well. Okay, Barrett, I know. I spoke to Melinda last few days. Both good. Jeff Lemon's a good mate of mine, and Alan Collins. All those four people I know very, very well. I speak to Jeff Lemon quite regularly. Adam Collins, I know very well. I've been with him in many countries as well as Australia and West Indies quite a few times. Melinda Farrell, I don't know personally. Known her from about 6-7 years. Barrett, he has a show on Twitter, and we hook up quite often. The best match I've watched was 2011 Ireland versus England at Bangalore. There were about 1,000 of us, best in the stadium. Okay. Sign the next superstar. What do you think? Siraj, the next superstar. He's not the next. He is the superstar right now. Right now, he's a superstar. Yes, Sunday, Hapathantri, you're here. You've come about an hour and 40 minutes into the talk. How are you, Sunday? Nikhil Raj is current show and will be next. What do you think? Yes. Do you think Brom's teasing was the reason for England's defeat? It certainly helped. Shivam Mishra put the same question so many times. We miss Gabba. Can't wait to see India playing again next. Well, me too. That was a great test match. That was probably one of the highlight test matches for a long, long, long time for me. Certainly was up there. And look, this was another great test, especially the fifth day. But yeah, the Gabba's a bit unbeatable. That was against all odds. I'm quite good. Sonny, so you're good. Please call Peter Laylaw on your show. Peter Lawler's a good friend. I know Peter. I'll ask him whether he's got time as a question, but he's busily writing in a paper every day. Good friend. Run this chat in slow mode. Run the chat in slow mode. I don't know how to do that. I'm trying to. Okay. Do you now get a feeling that the English media and people might incline to India versus England test equivalent to Ashes in terms of competitiveness? It already is. This was a magnificent test match, probably one of the most watched test matches I've certainly been a part of. Which one would be ranked better? Ashes is probably stronger in Australia and England, but in India, anything involving India would be the rating the strongest. So that's pretty obvious the case there. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Okay. Also, you can turn the chat in subscribers only mode so that only those who have subbed to your channel can chat. Yeah, but I don't want to restrict that. But yeah, I want to talk in French or German. Ja, Sunday, I can speak German. Wir können ein bisschen Deutsch sprechen. Das ist ganz in Ordnung. Ich habe 4,5 Jahre in München gelebt. Ja, Sunday, I lived in Germany for 4.5 years. French, petit peu, not much. Call Jalissa Apps, not now, afterwards if possible. Who's Jalissa Apps? I don't know who you're talking about. England versus England, India is always treated with high regard, but the Ashes is something special. It's got a longer history. That's why, that's correct, isn't it? Yes, England's ego was hurt when 39-year-old guy was targeted in his own country. Oh, that's nasty. Wow. Sakib Mahmood, yes. I think he could make a big difference at Leeds, at Headingley, at Leeds, and also in Manchester. He could be a real X-factor, Sakib Mahmood. He reminds me of Siraj for some reason. Very clear-minded bowlers. What do you think will be the biggest challenge from India's year for England in the next match? Challenge from India. Okay. Next will be really the actual momentum. And England would have a bit of a sigh of relief that they're not playing another match in a couple of days because they would be in a mental disarray at the moment. They got a bit of time to regather themselves. We're waiting on the squad announcements. In fact, the squad announcements I was hoping to announce on air, and we'll still see whether that's possible. At the moment, it's not. What do you think will be the biggest challenge from India's? I've already talked about lack of respect by the Indians to Anderson. India have set a precedent now. Yeah, Anderson's a danger. They've peppered Anderson because he's a huge threat. He took 5 wickets in both Test matches. He's pretty. Cricket Unfiltered podcast. Okay. With Jimmy most probably out of the series and Wood too, Mahmood is in. He's in this like work, swing with pace. Yeah, I agree. Chris Wokes, Munchie, what's the latest on Chris Wokes? I'm hearing that he's out for the series now. Mark Wood seems to be out as well, at least for the next Test match. But definitely, Chris Wokes could be more than just simply a one match situation. I think England could improve their bowling, Norman, but I see their batting only getting worse. Their batting's the problem. Mark Wood's unlikely to play. Please be online on 24th October and cover. Oh, you better will be. It'll be a big day. Am I going to be Santa? Cement 006? Cement 006? I'm Santa now. Why wait until Christmas? Yeah, don't believe Wokes will play. Are you saying just for the third test or for all the series? Pass off to health. Und Gott zu sagen. See, the pass off. Be careful. Okay. God sees all. Okay. I don't believe. Explain that further. Are you saying Wokes won't play the third test match or all 3? Because it's only 3 or 4 weeks at the time. Anderson fire with short balls was not disrespect, but England, Jimmy swearing bad words was yeah. It's all on the field, guys. It's not taken off, thankfully. Bumrah, Sharma and will both be playing. Virat, as in Siraj, they're all playing. Yeah, Anderson's got a gripe with people. There's no doubt about that at all. Bumrah's pretty, he doesn't care too much. I did, of course I did. It was a great match. England opening batsman is a big problem. It is. It still remains a big problem. Hamid may not be the solution either, but he probably will be batting. Hamid has to open. I agree. He has to be given a chance there. I think Andy will be strong and resolute. Although take care was pass off is also watch out. It means that as well. Rabbitohs are not great. Ray PMB9 Rabbitohs are absolutely fantastic. They're running equal second. They're playing Penrith, I think, in the next couple of matches. And the next match, they win that, they could be clear second. Bumrah bowling deliberate no balls well over the line is hardly business. It's a great bone of contention whether he did that deliberately or not, because if he did, that's pretty ordinary. It almost brings into play, certain match fixing as well, if you're not careful. If you would have bet that Bumrah bowled 5 no balls or 10 no balls or 14 no balls, you'd win a lot of money, wouldn't you? No, they're not coming. Neither of them come in the next Test match. Maybe if any bowling injuries, but not Surveyor. Who was your inspiration to start this channel? Can you brief a little bit about your journey, please? Adesh FF, there's an actual video all about my journey, but I've been involved with media for 15 years. I had a TV show 4 or 5 years ago called Through the Eyes of a Cricketer on TV Arcana. I often put those videos up. And then when COVID hit, they needed some Australian involvement in the Indian series, and I was there and I did a lot of work, and here I am now. What's your opinion of how it panned out for him? Do you think he'll be renewed? I don't think he'll be renewed. No. I don't think he'll be renewed. he'll end his tenure next June. But they were thinking it'll be early in that. That was the question. No, he won't be renewed. Bumrah's the coolest guy on the team. It was not deliberate. Rohit Sharma will score a big century. He's got the most runs of any Indian all season, 690. Will the time come when India versus England will be bigger than the Ashes? Aussies probably not in the near future, but long term you never know. Munchie, it's softening him up. It was a bit of softening up. Please do a session on the background of Ashes. I'd love to hear that. Okay, I will start, Christian. In fact, I'd like to talk as the Ashes comes to fruition. I'll talk about it. Yeah, it was a bit alarming what happened with Bumrah, I must admit. And he did it in the second innings too. It was a little bit dodgy. Yeah, the T20 World Cup New Zealand squad has been announced. You're right. We need a strong Aussie team as well. Yes, I'm sure the Aussie team will be stronger than what was in Bangladesh and West Indies, but it won't be necessarily good enough to win the World Cup, nor will they probably make the semi-finals. Munchie, I'm on the other side. I think there was something a bit deliberate about what was going on there. Root is my inspiration. He's so cute. Oh, is it based on looks now, you're saying? I thought it was based on batting ability. So that's my only concern there. Ashes 21 confirmed for Australia after you know that England's batting is horrible. Yeah, well, it looks like that at the moment, but we'll wait and see. Should we be worried about Australian cricket, Norman? It's Australian domestic cricket's been a problem for a while now, to be honest. Very disappointed. No one's really coming through. Okay. What does it come off with? I'm not sure what that one's all about. Thank you, Poem. Yeah, Australian players are certainly coming. Oh, so you're saying your batting style is just like Joe Root, is it? It's very confident of you, including the stance and the back left as well. How about the run scoring? Is it the same? My T20 World Cup prediction is, well, it'll be between England, India, West Indies, and either Pakistan or New Zealand. And the overall winner will be between India and England, I think, with the West Indies as a smoky. Yeah, Australian Ashes will be pretty ordinary. Yeah, Sonny scores a lot of run. What's that? In under 12s, Cameron Smith is the best captain in Australia. In cricket, sorry, in rugby league, but not cricket, obviously. Is that what you're getting at? Yeah, 220 would be a bit of an eye. Will we see centre from Virat and Headingley? I doubt it, because it's not the conditions. And when I'm bowling, I take a little bit. Jesus, Sonny got confidence there. And Engel is having his own conversation with Munchie. He would have given his reply with the ball in, not swear. Don't expect swearing from legends. There's no doubt that Anderson's a bit of a hothead. No doubt. I need to get him out, else Root would have taken the strike and fall to the end of the day. That's true. Not many. Ray thought the Melbourne Storm. Okay, well, it's South New Rabbitohs, which is the team. Your sonny gets a lot of 50s. Are you dreaming, your sonny? Your 12-year-old scoring a lot of 50s. What are you, the next Tendulkar? I'm finding that one a bit hard to believe. I'm training really hard to convert 50s to 100s like my legend Rudy. Wow, your sonny, I'm not sure. You've got some confidence there. Rules. Yeah, okay. Umpires, at least Coley didn't say to Jimmy get. Yeah, Michael Clark was pretty bad. Well, Michael Clark had a real good go at Anderson too. No, everybody's had a good go at Anderson, but Anderson's got the most wickets and he's come through a lot of series pretty well. He's pretty gutsy fellow, but a bit stupid, sometimes a bit hot-headed. Most bowlers are. They have their moments, don't they? We all know that. We all know that. Mustafa Khan, I've already mentioned that question. Norman, do you believe that England did ball tampering during the test? Well, I certainly stepped on the ball, and they didn't need to, so I probably wouldn't mind an explanation for that. Well, I haven't got one so far. So the players to watch for the rest of the series will definitely be Saqib Mahmood is a bowler that we need to watch, and for England, they're batting Dawood Malan coming in will be a person to watch. For India, well, the whole team has been fantastic. Punt didn't quite get his act together yet, but he will. Still, you're suddenly your 30s and 40s at your age is pretty good. Indeed. All right, guys, it's been almost 2 hours. We might stop there today. We've had a good chat. We were meant to have the announcement of the England squad, but it hasn't happened, so I'll make sure I release that in the video before too long. All right, we should get that pretty soon. We haven't got it yet. It's past 12 o'clock here, so yeah. Bob and stay safe. I will. No show November, mate. Rave PBMB Cat. No, I'm waiting for a new show. I just purchased a shaver online, which is meant to be here tomorrow or the next day, and then I should have it cut off in the next few days. Norman, I took a triple hat trick in my first match. A triple hat trick. That means you took 9 wickets and 9 balls. Hot rod solid. That's pretty hard to believe. What's your team? Okay. Cummins from Australia is the most lethal bowler in terms of tests. He certainly is up there, yes. Cameron is also another lovely player. Yes, I mean, he certainly is. Williamson is a great player, so is Root. Baba Azam should be also lauded upon. He's also another good player. Yeah. Yes. All right, guys. I'm going in 3 minutes. During the Sandpaper Gate, English players are given interviews and they didn't have a single statement on the ball tampering, because all teams probably do it. The reports on Milan, yes. Vince, I'm not sure. Now you're suddenly you love Australia all of a sudden. Okay. I'm so proud because it's hard to believe. Well, that England won, or you mean because of your triple hat trick? Hot Rod Slomley, does that make the newspapers? It should have made the newspapers. There have been reports of Vince Milan there. Milan, I think definitely Vince. I'm not sure. It's 10 minutes. Okay. Okay. Hello, I'm Mohammed Amir. Hi. Well, Southwell can't stop asking which team to announce the 10 World Squad. Only New Zealand have at this point. Stokes could make them competitive if in the World Cup. He's not at this point. He's not playing in this series. He's not expected to play for the IPL or the World Cup, and he'd be pushing to make it for the Test series, and that is the Ashes. Michael Vaughan's tweet account has gone into hibernation. Understandably so, because his team got beaten. He's got nothing to say. Yes. All right, guys. You've got a minute to go. I'm going to cut off. Bairstow and Butler never let go of grudges. They sure will take their shots. Fair enough. Part of cricket is to be able to sledge on the field a little bit. It doesn't hurt, as long as they kept it on the field. All right, guys. I'm going to head off now. All right. Take care. We'll see each other tomorrow for another full report. We'll have some other guests on. So take care. All the best. Thank you very much for your time. So don't forget to view, like, and share. Subscribe. Hit the notification button. At Norm Koch is where you'll find my Twitter and my Instagram handle. And ultimately, I've got a Facebook and LinkedIn page as well. So if you want to contact me, message me on Instagram. All the best, guys. Take care and good night.